you need to know what your status is. And your status now is not fully realized the way it should have been
Exactly.
once
In
the war
2008.
once the war was over. Many people died to make Kosovo free of Yugoslavia and Serbia. And now we need to go the rest of the way. That is why I'm happy Barta set up this meeting, because you need to know from us, why do you still need a lobby here in Washington? Why do you still need the United States to support what Kosovo is looking for? Why can't you do it by yourself? You can't do it by yourself because right now you need people to speak for Kosovo. You could speak in your parliament, you could speak in your schools, you could speak in your communities, but until you find the voice that you need besides Shirley and Joe to speak in Washington, and that requires leaders, and I hope this is where we're going, because now that you have Albin Kurti and Vjosa Osmani, who are excellent speakers and representatives of the Albanian people, from what I can see, compared to all the governments I've seen in the past, now we have the chance to make Kosovo not only independent in name, but independent in substance.
But it's not only the Kosovo government. You know, the problem again comes back to the United States. We have a different structure than the European Union has, or any countries within Europe. And that is, we have our House and our Senate, and then we have our judiciary, and then we have our presidency. And in response to the presidency, you have our State Department. Now, our State Department, if you look closely at what is being said right now, they are, once again, working with Serbia and trying to bring Serbia and Kosovo together for the negotiations. We, on the contrary, are going to our House and Senate and saying, no, don't proceed with that as long as there's inequality in the situation. There has to first be full recognition of Kosovo. So that is the job of all of us right now.
And surely,
but we can't tell you exactly what the outcome is going to be. What we can say at the moment is that, to a certain extent, the US is taking a back seat to Europe. And one of the reasons is that our government is really having to deal with Russia and China and North Korea and the dangers that lie therein. So that's kind of a priority. But at the same time, the good news is our President Joe Biden is coming to Europe and plans to be having meetings with all of the key elements of Europe to bring the West together. And I think you've all heard is going to conclude with a meeting with Putin of Russia.
Yeah, Vucic's best friend is Putin,
And
so that's a problem for us.
Of course, he will be challenging Putin. None of us know exactly what's going to happen in that meeting. One of the strengths I think we have in trying to bring more attention to Kosovo and to the Albanian world is the fact that China and Russia have been moving into the region. And if we want to continue with a whole free democratic Europe, that needs to be challenged.
We are not speaking for Albin Kurti and Vjosa Osmani and your government. We are Americans who understand the Albanian people, who've convinced the United States there's nobody better than the Albanian people, but it requires your government now to be aggressive, hopefully with us. We've had an hour meeting, me and Shirley, on the phone with Kurti, and we hope to have one soon with Osmani, because we want to be sure that we agree on everything. Now, what we just told you we're sure about, because we had a nice meeting several weeks ago by Zoom with Albin Kurti, so we're not saying things that only we believe in. He believes in that too. He knows.
Well, we can't speak for him.
No, but he has said, no, there's no sense in going forward with any negotiations with Serbia until they recognize us as equal. an equal state like Serbia. Next question.
Okay.
What can we students do in order for Kosovo to become a truly democratic state?
Okay. Well, you're on your way to becoming a truly democratic state after the last elections, which everybody said were free and fair and not subject to corruption. So we now have leaders in Kosovo, Albin Kurti and Vjosa Osmani, and your parliament. We now have people that you can trust. We believe you can trust these people as your leaders, and that's what begins a democratic state, where there is a free flow of information between the people that are citizens of the state and the government. And that's basically what we are seeing now, and we've tried to promote all the time. But in the past, the elections were compromised, and too many people who got into your government got there to make money, not to represent the people. So as a result, unfortunately, Kosovo has people who are so rich, you can call them oligarchs, like the people in Russia. And that's what we don't want to see happen to Kosovo. We want people who make money by being good at their business, not by being a politician. And in the past 30 years, too many people made money by getting elected. And then they tried to give cheap jobs to the Albanian people back if they gave the votes from the family. That's what I witnessed. Nobody told me that. That's what I saw. And that's not good, because in the past, that was like the mafia. All right, you give me the votes, I give you a job. No, that's no good. That's not democracy. And that's the way Russia works. We don't want this to be Kosovo. You need to do well in your school. You then have to get a job in a business or a profession, and you need to work hard like I did as a young man to become a certified public accountant and to stay in a big firm. In my days, 22 years was a long time to stay, but I became a partner and I made a lot of money, and I used that money to become a congressman. And you don't make much money as a congressman. So believe it or not, it was difficult, but we did it. In any case, you're going to have to face these challenges too. I was 44 when I decided to leave the profession of accountancy to run for Congress, and nobody said I could win, but I did in a very difficult race because I was a Republican in the Democratic district. So no one thought I had any chance to win, but I fooled them. I worked hard enough so the people on election day voted for me. Very close election. You may have to face the same choices in the future, what you want to do with your life. I wanted to represent my country, America, to the world as an accountant, because today, many countries do not have good accounting systems, good economic systems, and they're failing in their representation of the people. They're not creating good jobs. They're creating government jobs. Government jobs are okay. It's not bad if you want to become part of your government, but that should not be the only choice you have. You've got to get jobs in business, in professions, and that's what you need.
Questions?
Okay.
Hi, my name is Dr. Selmi, and I am in the 9th grade. First of all, very nice to meet you, Mr. and Mrs. DioGuardi. I would like to say that I'm very inspired and thankful of your work and dedication to help the Kosovo Albanians. I would like to know how to learn to find a common ground with a party that is the aggressor, which in your case, it was Slobodan Milosevic.
But who are you referring to now in terms of the party as an aggressor?
Well, we're negotiating with Serbia right now. We're currently, our dialogue is paused, mainly because both parties, Kosovo and Serbia, disagree in a lot of discussions and a lot of topics. And the idea is that in this situation where we stand right now, what are some of the things that we need to do as Kosovo, but also Serbia has to do in order to get ourselves in a field where we'll discuss about our future, about good relations, about good, let's say, neighboring projects and stuff like that.
Well,
Okay, so you're talking then about common ground between Serbia and Kosovo. That's what we missed, and we just wanted to clarify that. Right now, we don't see any effort on the Serbian side. And when I say the Serbian side, I'm not talking about all Serbian people. But I am talking about President Vučić.
Government.
We continue to get the message that you get. You may hear even more than we do every day, that he has no intention of recognizing the independence of Kosovo, which is why I have said that I'm behind the current position not to go into negotiations until Serbia is first required to recognize the equality of Kosovo.
And thank you for being in this meeting today with us. My question is, in your opinion, has enough work been done in Kosovo in the last 20 years after war?
By the way, all of you speak English wonderfully,
Yes.
and we really appreciate the fact that we're all here together, but we're having trouble.
By the government to support the people, to develop the country, and to look into the prospects of the future.
Well, this is what you need. See, you're in the process now of having a new government. That government still has not even appointed ambassadors yet to other countries. I don't think there's an ambassador to the United States yet, for instance, that we need to know so we can work with. So right away, we need to make sure your government is fully in place so they can properly represent the programs, the economic programs, the political ideas of the Albanian people. And that's what we're waiting for, because we want to work with your government like we did in the past with other governments. And some of them we didn't agree with. But then we decided to do other things to make up for the fact we could not make the impact we thought we should make in Kosovo for the Albanian people. So Shirley and I got comfortable with Switzerland, and we found out there's 1 million Albanians there. And we worked with them to form an Albanian Swiss Civic League so that they can start quickly to work with your government to get support from the Swiss government for Kosovo.
Yeah, actually, I want to clarify that the Albanian Swiss Civic League's role is not to work with the Kosovo government. Its role is to influence and impact the European Union, and specifically the problems we're all facing with 5 members of the European Union that don't recognize Kosovo's independence. That's one. And then 2, to have the link with the Albanian American Civic League work in Washington. It's the first time in the history of Albanian life after the war that 2 sides of the Albanian world have come together to have an influence on the leadership in the West and in the United States. This is an important development, and we're hoping that it's going to make a great deal of difference for Kosovo.
I just want to add to that. You have to remember that you are in Europe. You're not in the United States of America. As much as you would like to be maybe a state of the United States of America, you're in Europe, and we have to deal with this reality. Now, who are we, me and Shirley, to now come to Europe? We are American citizens here. We're trying to do it by educating Albanians in Germany, in Switzerland, in France, and in the Balkans.
And mainly our
Albanians
government in the United States.
Yeah, well, of course, but we first have to educate Albanians as to how they can represent the issues of the Albanian people and the issues you're concerned about in Kosovo to the European Parliament. We can go there and give speeches. We did this in Switzerland very successfully, but we need to do more of that. And I hope that we can start traveling to Europe more often. This virus really held us back. We didn't even go to Washington for a year. And we haven't been to Kosovo for 12 years.
My question is, former President Donald Trump said he would remove visas for Kosovars to travel to the United States. Do you think this could happen, and could it be a pressure on the EU to liberalize visas? Because Kosovo is the only country that can travel to the EU.
There was a declaration, a statement from the Trump administration, that they will be starting to think of liberalizing the visa for Kosovo. The question was whether the US government State Department is thinking of liberalizing the visa for the Kosovo citizens?
We all know that visa liberalization is absolutely critical. And we also know, unfortunately, that Kosovo has been, quote, promised visa liberalization since 2008, and is the other critical element of what we want to see happen in our discussions with the Biden administration.
Right.
And the House and Senate Foreign Affairs committees.
Whatever Trump promised is gone, finished. He's no longer president. He thinks he's president. He's lying that to people here, and that's the confusion we have in America, that he thinks he was elected. No, he was not elected. The president now is Biden, and he's a very good friend of the Albanian people. His son, as you know, passed away. He has a monument in Kosovo. So Biden and his family have a very good place in their heart for the Albanian people. And we are trying to now put this agenda for the Biden administration with the State Department high for the Albanian people. It's not easy. They have to worry about China. They have to worry about Russia. They have to worry about Turkey. They have to worry about Afghanistan. They're trying to pull the troops out. So where does Kosovo fit? That's our job. Our job is to have a loud voice for Kosovo in Washington. So they are listening to the truth, and they're listening to what the Albanian people need in Kosovo. That's the job we have coming up this year in Washington.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. DioGuardi. I'm
Thank you.
in JP. I'm in the 9th grade. And first off, I would like to thank both of y'all for the support of Albanians in general. And so throughout history, we have learned that after the First World War, Americans actually helped Albanians and Albania very much. And from your perspective, do you think there's a geopolitical reason for that?
Albanian people have distinguished themselves over the years. You had people coming to America like Fanoli. He was not only a prime minister of Albania, he was a priest in the Orthodox Church. He was very respected. He gave many good speeches here. He was an intellectual. He was the one that said to the Albanian people in a poem, Mornan moski frike seke jemten namarik. Okay? And so there's been a constant flow of intelligent people coming here after World War I, but they were mainly academic, or they were religious leaders that were good people, and they made good friends here. But that's not enough. You need to have a political agenda that is successful as a country. And that is not easy to do, especially today, when everybody is competing for power, for money, and for resources. And we have the problems today of climate problems, as you know, and everything else. So the point is, I would say that Albanians did what they could after World War I, but things went from bad to worse, as you know. King Zog was not the problem, but when he walked away in 1939, then the people who decided to represent the military of Albania, and also the Albanian people, I guess, in Kosovo, they didn't turn out to be that good. And frankly, thank God we managed to make a good ally in Italy. You have a good friend in Italy, there's no question. And the Albanians in Italy have distinguished themselves. In 1861, Italy was made a full state. And guess who helped make Italy a state? Giuseppe Garibaldi. Who was working with Garibaldi? Francesco Crispi became one of the first prime ministers of Italy. You have to go back and understand this history to show the connection between the Italian people and the Albanian people. And by the way, Italians are probably the largest ethnic group in America. Okay? And there's a big friendship between the Albanian people and the Italian people. And Shirley and I have made it even closer because we give speeches at Italian clubs about the history of Albanians and the Italian people.
Hi, Mr. and Mrs. DioGuardi. Thank you for everything you've done.
You're welcome.
I'm Yilma from 8th grade. Thank you for everything you've done. My question is, what is stopping us from negotiating with Serbia? What are we doing wrong and what can we do more?
All right, this is a question that you have to now put to your government. And I hope you, Barda and Prezhnik, will invite both Albin Kurti and Vjosa Osmani to come before the students, maybe the whole school, maybe all the students in Kosovo should be there in a plenary session so that these questions could be raised with the leaders that your families have now chosen. Because I don't think you're old enough to vote, so you didn't vote yet, but they did for you, okay? And I think that's an important thing to do. We wouldn't mind being part of that if you want to do it on Zoom to give our, feelings, but I think you first have to ask those questions to Albert Kurti,
Well, I
because
think,
that's why he ran to become prime minister.
but remember, we don't have the answer to that question. That's what we're waiting for. I think I think the prime minister is going to Brussels between the 14th and 17th of this month. And we're going to have to learn, only after that, what is the decision going to be? And as we've made clear to you today, we think strongly those negotiations should not begin until Serbia recognizes Kosovo as an independent state before they go into any negotiations. But we can't tell you whether that's going to be the case or not. So in effect, what you're waiting to hear, we're waiting to hear. But one thing I can say that's very good is that I think we'll all be hearing soon. And it's at that point when we learn what the next steps are going to be, we'll make a decision about, what we should be doing.
We look forward to seeing Albin Kurti and Vjosa Osmani in Washington, and I hope they invite us to be there when they come. Now, in the meantime, Shirley and I are not just here on vacation, we are working. And what is the work that we're doing? It's mainly not lobbying, it's public relations. We are making a very good bridge, order, the word in Albanian, order, the bridge between the Jewish people, the Italian people, and Black American people. I'm very active today with the Black American people to get them their rights in America. For 33 years, I've worked to get them the highest medals in our country, called the Medal of Honor, for those who fought so well in World War I and World War II. The Jewish people, Shirley and I have spoken at synagogues on behalf of the Albanian people. And the Italian people, Shirley and I have spoken at those clubs to explain the history of the Albanian people. Why do we do this? Because we want people in America to know who the Albanian people are. Because if you listen just to the propaganda of the Serbs, you would think that they are fundamentalist Muslims, drug dealers. This is what we heard all the time 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And we had to overcome this image, bad image, that was given by the Slavic people about the Albanians. So we do that through public relations. And there's something we're going to do next year, hopefully in Kosovo, with the Jewish people, that's going to make the Albanian people very well respected. And that's what we can't wait to come back to Kosovo to do, okay? Before you go, you see this? You cannot become a member of our league. First of all, we don't expect you to make a contribution. We do not collect money from Europe, from Albanians in Europe for what we do here. We collect it from your families and we ask them to support. So the best thing you can do is call your families, your cousins. You have many big families in America. And you should say, we heard from Joe and Shirley, and we see they have this new card. And you could go on the website, AACL.com, and they could become a student member, a family member, a regular member, or an executive member. And if they want to really support us, they could become a board member. So you can lobby your Albanian American family and friends in America and say, did you join the league? Because we need to make this league strong. It's a strong voice for us here, back here. We cannot support it. We cannot afford it, but you can as an American. And please do that by going on the website of the Albanian American Civic League. And that's AACL.com. And you'll see membership. You'll see what it means. Okay. So you can do something.
I just want to take the opportunity to thank the Faik School, cheer up for Faik, a very wonderful school.
I want to thank them too. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
You know, I'm very surprised with the questions because questions were very deeply understandable from my side. It's a kind of a concern about the future of Kosovo, and we are very aware that these children are the future of Kosovo, and they have to understand of our future. They have to understand of what's going to happen with the government, of what's going to happen with the relations with Albania, with Serbia, and they need to have that quietness in their heart, in their mind, because they're going to be serving in the new governments, in new economy. They're going to be serving everywhere in our daily life, and everything that has happened so far. They have to understand it. So without further ado, we want to thank Ms. and Mr. DioGuardi for their time, for their questions, for the answers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Parliamentary Shum.
Shirley and Joe, have a great day.
You too.
Mayor Passam.
Not to the mayor.
Joe and Shirley, I want to thank you for an education that has literally, not figuratively, changed my life. I thought I was well informed. And one of the things that happened in that first hearing, Joe, when you came along with others to testify, you made a case that was compelling. The reason I let you, as they say, go on for 15 minutes, because the case you were making was compelling.